Hello, everyone. Welcome to another live stream. How's it going? I promised I'll start to do these on a daily basis right around 12 o'clock noon. PST, still getting to that strict timeline, but we're getting there. So what's up, guys? Yeah, as usual, we started about 15 minutes late, so we'll probably only do about 45 minutes today. But most things we have already covered yesterday. So today will just be a quick follow-up on the overall market, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin dominance, the top altcoins we have been watching, how their entries have been doing, and some of the mid caps that I talked about briefly on TikTok. We'll review those as well, and then we'll do like quite a bit of Q&A right after. So we'll just let a couple of people join in. Emery, what's up? What's up? Daniel, hey, how's it going? Yeah, so I really like this tool called StreamYard to do these streams because it's like cloud hosted OBS plus like multi-stream combined. So that's how we're able to be on YouTube and Twitter at the same time. Really good tool. I love this one. So yeah, without further ado, we can just jump into it. And this is also a good review for myself as well to do a daily checkup on the entire market and see how my positions are doing. So, okay, let me share screen here. And this call will also be recorded and posted on my YouTube as well as the Bacon DAO YouTube. So stay tuned for that right after. As you guys have been seeing, on my YouTube, I've been editing the thumbnails and making sure everything is correct. Timestamps will be coming. So, okay. So let's let me share screen. Here we go. And first off, this is Bitcoin analysis. And Daniel, I'll talk about individual coins and questions right after. So in about 25 minutes. But yeah, just leave your questions there and then I'll make sure to answer as much as I can. And maybe you can check back after. So first off, Bitcoin analysis. We have been watching this box for entry for the past 4 days. So this is the range here formed with this consolidation, right? From 38K to 42K. And conveniently, this is also the 200 daily EMA. Bring up exponential moving average here and look at 200 daily EMA, right? That sits right at 41,800, right? So that's within this box, close to the top of the range, but nonetheless, still very much giving us confluence. Okay. And what are we talking about? Right. So this has been our buy zone, and so far so good. The absolute bottom line that I needed to see hold is the 38K level, right? Which is the previous higher low here, very significant. So since this bounce is looking quite convincing here, stayed above the 38K previous higher low, very convincing here. And honestly, congrats if you kind of followed our call. Yeah, not much to say there. Hope to see this continue to flourish. This obviously, just because it has bounced back from this range, doesn't mean that, okay, now we are in a definite uptrend, it's going to go to 100K. No, for that, we kind of need to take out this high here formed right around 52.5K, right? So if that gets taken out, all of a sudden this uptrend and then this dip clearly would have been a correction if it can actually make a new higher high again. But so far so good. It has not made a lower low, right? So the trend has not been broken. Yes, this is a bit of a bigger term correction, but still so far so good. So putting that in our mind first, that we need to watch Bitcoin holding 38K as the bottom line for kind of the entire market. Then we can look at Ethereum. Again, same thing, right around the 2,900 level, right? We're 3 types of resistance here. two tests of support here, and then this time around 2.9K, we said, okay, this is going to be kind of my target to start buying. Obviously, I don't have any sort of stop loss drawn on this chart because you can analyze Ethereum and other altcoins individually, but at the end of the day, with how the market is currently like, it will highly depend on Bitcoin's performance, right? So as long as Bitcoin holds above 38K, anything for altcoins that are decent and fundamentally strong, it's a good opportunity, right? You don't want to be too strict on yourself and try to find specific levels on altcoin while the actual main driver is how Bitcoin is doing, right? Especially during these times when everyone is watching Bitcoin and waiting to see, okay, is this too shaky? Are we going to a long-term bear market or not? So during these times, don't want to set a tight stop loss for alts like ETH. Instead, watching closely for Bitcoin to hold above 38K. And so far, so good. So that's why, entering into ETH here around 2.9K is still a good idea. Don't have any stops here, like I said, but if Bitcoin closes below 38K, then all of a sudden across the board, including ETH, but most of the other altcoins I'm holding will need to be reconsidered. So that's Ethereum. Now let's look at Bitcoin dominance really quick. Okay, so first off, Bitcoin dominance, right, still in a long-term downtrend, right? Ever since beginning of this year, January 1st, pretty much exactly. Bitcoin dominance has just been trending down, which means major alt season for the past for the first 5.5 months of the year. Then May 12th came and we had a major correction. So we formed this kind of rising wedge, which is a continuation pattern in a downtrend. And that's why following the breakdown here, right, the trend that's to follow suit for the long term is still a downtrend, which means that we are currently in still a long-term alt season, despite the short-term kind of correction across the board for altcoins. So that's why I have not taken any profits from altcoins. Instead, I'm merely treating this short-term dip as buying opportunities for altcoins. So zooming in a little bit more to the 4-hour chart, we have had this very short-term uptrend, right, since last week. So I think on Monday, we were targeting, let's say 45% level. If Bitcoin dominance reaches there, there will be tons of buying opportunity there for altcoins. Haven't sold any, and that turned out to be a good call. Despite that, we didn't get as good entries on altcoins. Still no problem because we gave many individual altcoin picks, as well as just across the board haven't sold any. So that has been turned out to be a good idea, as so far this even very short-term uptrend has come to a stop with a double top here printed. So so far so good for altcoins, for the sake of holding altcoins. And I would just be kind of a bit cautious for this neckline there, because we have had a bit of a small shoulder there, but then a larger shoulder, one head. And now if this becomes a third shoulder, then the breakout here will lead to a larger flow back of money from altcoins into Bitcoin and fiat. So altcoins could lose a bit more traction if this happens, but so far so good. It hasn't happened yet. So my current strategy is still to hold all my altcoin positions and continue to add to the ones that I believe in strongly. But yeah, just to note, right? So if this here doesn't get as low as here, but instead simply makes a new higher low and sort of retest this neckline, then that's effectively inverse head and shoulders, which is very crucial to watch, because that would mean, okay, altcoins might see some short-term, even larger correction, but hasn't played out yet. So still holding altcoins, still buying dips. And of course, long-term, we are still in a major alt season. So if you're just hodling and you're looking at like at least 6 months to a year, then no problem at all. Looking at the kind of time frame. Okay, moving on to some of the picks that we were watching. Altcoin plays in the large cap category. So first one we were watching was AVAX. Yeah, it's been doing great. So on Monday, right during the correction, we said the previous all-time high at right here, circled out at $55, is a great buying opportunity, right? Because typically the first breakout of a previous all-time high and the retest is a great entry opportunity as it just starts to enter into new price discovery. So yeah, that has proved to be a great call, and price has since rallied to a new all-time high, despite very short. I do expect this to continue rallying. Still holding my AVAX. The narrative for for layer ones with liquidity mining incentives is very strong, right? AVAX has around $500 million that are distributing to these dApps and DEXs, lending protocols, farms, etc., on their network to incentivize people to come to the network and build and use it. So yeah, that's kind of a major narrative and major trend that's driving the whole, not only the AVAX coin itself, but the whole ecosystem growth, which we'll get into a bit more specific place in a bit. But yeah, still holding AVAX, still looking strong. Next play was Luna. So Luna is the native token, native coin for the Terra network. And similarly, right? So yeah, so we had this level kind of, we had this box since Monday, and we had this level since yesterday, which is kind of 3 tests of the low here, right? So still holding my position, right? That I've been trying to accumulate right around 25, below $30, I'd say. If we get any more dips to around the $25 level, again, I would treat that as a buying opportunity, because that's very much close to the previous all-time high at $22, right? Same scenario, first breakout retest of the previous all-time high is typically a good buying opportunity as price enters into new price discovery. And the kind of, if there is a new leg up, which doesn't always play out, right? A good buying opportunity isn't the fact that, okay, every time you buy there, it's a win. No, instead it's for the winners of the same setup, usually the reward is much larger than the risk, right? Yeah, so that's kind of what you need to look at, because typically if a coin breaks out of the previous all-time high, and if that's a real breakout, then the following rally usually is very fast and very large, right? Because it has never visited those levels, so fundamentally something has changed, or there's new money pouring in. Sometimes those don't play out, in which case the rally would have failed and it would break below the previous all-time high and use it as resistance again. In this case, that's looking at around $16, $15, right? But with these kind of what I call good setups, it's not that they're always 100% right. And that's why I have considered so many of these and taking multiple positions to hedge my bets. But instead, if you make an average entry here, you could set a stop loss, let's say at 50% loss, but usually the potential profit for a new all-time high breakout is something like 300%. So with those reward to risk ratios, that makes this a good setup. It's not necessarily that it's always guaranteed profit, right? Sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. But if you just consistently take even 50% win rate for all of these same setups, because every time you win, you can win much larger than the ones you lose, overall, they're all good setups and make profitable trades. So that's Luna, another layer one. And the next one down the list was Algorand we were watching. Very similar setup right here. So 3 tests of the previous all-time high at $1.70, and we briefly revisited this level. Price started to bounce again. I'm also in this, right? Same as AVAX, same as Luna, same setup. Yeah, some of these layer ones will rally while others might not. But because I have pretty much all of these setups. The ones that will give a loser, I'll take an L on, will give maybe 50% loss for that individual one, versus the ones that gain and actually do see a major leg up after, can reap maybe 300% of profit. In this case, averages out as overall great trades. Okay. And then not lastly, but I think there are two more that we're watching at them, where Cosmos is the network name. Also very similar setup, right? The previous all-time high range around 27, let's say 27.5 to $30, right? Bounce is starting from here. Again, same setup, high risk to reward. Yeah, not much more to say. I don't really necessarily have a favorite between all of these, so yeah. But I'm well hedged for this layer one narrative bet. So whichever one really takes off, I'll be there to reap the profit. And whichever ones that don't take off and falls back below, then I'll make sure to cut those losers. Last one that I was watching in the same narrative was Algorand. Wait, is this Algorand or Elrond? EGLD is Elrond. Same thing, right? So this is a bit of a range that I was watching because the previous all-time high kind of had two peaks. So around 195 to 240, right, is kind of my buy zone. And we're still around that range. So same setup, waiting for this to kind of confirm the breakout above these previous all-time high levels. So far, so good. So overall, across the board, we're still seeing layer one networks that are EVM compatible and have liquidity mining incentives. That's a huge trend that's happening right now. So all of these coins that I've just mentioned fit into that narrative. That's why I have them. You can even pick a couple more. For example, Near, another good example, right? Also EVM compatible. Again, same setup right here. Previous all-time high, $7.30. Retest is just coming in. So we had one test here, two tests here, three tests here, right? Same setup. Again, I don't necessarily know which one's going to be the winner, but there certainly should be a couple winners in this list, assuming this narrative really takes off. Yeah, so that's that. What else are we going to talk about? Right, so some interesting individual examples. One particular chain that's not in the EVM niche, but is also very popular right now is Kusama. This is because Kusama / Polkadot, they are their own kind of ecosystem where in order to be part of the ecosystem and have a parachain to be interoperable and really take advantage of the network, you have to enter what they call these parachain auctions. So you have to actually, in the Kusama's case, buy the KSM token and put them down in order to bid for a slot to join the network. And then, you have your major project, you can build on it. So the first round of auctions, so the first 5 auction slots were already happened in June. And that's when you see kind of these resilience levels in Kusama even when Bitcoin had a major drop here, you see that the month of June, it pretty much rallied to new all-time highs again. So this was a rare occurrence and very heavily driven by the direct demand of the Kusama parachain auctions. So people needed to buy KSM tokens in order to join the network. This is why it's a very significant catalyst event to watch, because for the months of September, we have another 5 slot auctions that are taking place right now. And we have been watching this very closely. And you see this recent uptrend has been pretty consistent, printing 3 higher lows already. So yeah, I'm still holding also Kusama and accumulating within this buy range between $270 and $350, and with a stop loss right around 260, because that would invalidate this trade as if a new lower low is made below the previous higher low here. Yeah, so far so good. That's another example of individual coins that have big catalyst events going on. This doesn't necessarily apply to Polkadot yet, because right now there's only parachain auctions on Kusama. The Polkadot parachain auctions will still come a couple months out. So it's also interesting to watch how Kusama and KSM is doing, and take that experience later to the Polkadot crowd auctions, parachain auctions, so that you have also a experience and early advantage there. Yeah, so I'm overall very, very bullish, and fundamentally speaking, I support this the way they're doing this, and the Substrate Polkadot Kusama ecosystem. But just that it isn't the time for Polkadot yet, because it's not live, right? The parachains, they're not live, so they're still building it up. Look out for it. I would say a couple months from now. Okay, so that's that, and a couple more individual altcoins that I have talked about on TikTok, and that are not in the layer one network niche that we can talk about. I would categorize these as mid-cap picks, medium risk picks. So let's go on CoinMarketCap. The first one I talk about was Quant QNT. So this is very interesting because it is certainly a very strong outperformer when it comes to the major correction we had since May 12th, from May 12th to pretty much July 30th, right? In that period, that's when Bitcoin dropped from 55K all the way down to 30, and then like just kind of ranged in 30 while everyone was freaking out and expecting lower levels, including myself. The market was overall very shaky, and then the individual picks that really stood out and rallied by themselves during that period are the ones to watch, right? So Quant is a prime example for that. So if you look at kind of from May 12th, right, it was at $57 to let's say July 30th, right? It was already 150. So it did a very solid 3x in this period, right? And so this is what gives us so much, myself, so much confidence to say, okay, if there are more corrections coming, this is one that I would be buying the dips on. So that's why, this is one that I'm still looking to pick up. I still don't have enough of it, but in this recent correction, let me see if I can find it on TradingView. Pretty sure it's on, I think it's on Binance. It's also on KuCoin, etc. So yeah, here we go. So I think KuCoin has a longer term chart. Right. So this is one that I've been watching, and two scenarios that I could see us myself having a potential entry in this. Firstly is if it comes back into this range, in which case from 260 to 320, that's kind of my buy range. But if kind of Bitcoin just continues this bounce and doesn't turn back anymore, then I'd say any tests of the top of this range, right around 320, this would be a decent entry opportunity already, because this 320 extends all the way here to this, sorry, where's my brush tool? To this low made here, right? So this is a pretty significant level already. And at the bottom here, if you look at 1 hour, we kind of had sort of a bottoming pattern, right? Where this level was tested twice here as resistance, and now it has broken above it. So breakout retest again above the kind of consolidation range at the bottom here. Another typical entry target. So yeah, looking at around $320 if we get another dip down. But so far so good. And we covered this already yesterday, and already had a pretty decent entry opportunity within the range still. Yeah, for the very long term, it's still in a very clear uptrend for this. Just consistent higher highs and higher lows. Let's say higher low here, higher low here, higher low here, higher low, and now higher low, right? So each dip stayed above the previous higher low. So this is what makes a consistent uptrend. And that's why this gives us just so much confidence. So we wanted this low to stay above this low, which it did. So now when we are buying dips, we want if there is another dip, we want that dip to stay above 250, which is this higher low, right? So that's what makes a healthy uptrend, which we can continue riding. So yeah, that's a sign to watch. So if you are to enter here, I would set my stop loss kind of right below 250. Let's say at 240, 230-ish. Next up, we also talked about Joe. Chartx.pro is the tool I can use to chart this. So Joe is the leading decentralized exchange in the AVAX ecosystem, and it has been the strongest altcoin performer in the AVAX ecosystem as well. Just individually across the ecosystem, right? You have Pangolin, which is another DEX, but if you compare the charts of Pangolin versus Joe, there's a very clear difference between their price charts, and not only that, between their volume growth as well since this AVAX hype started. So Pangolin has always been kind of number one, but over the past month and a half or so, Joe has grown like 3x in volume and actually surpassed Pangolin. So it's that kind of growth that you need to see. So currently sits at 250 million market cap. So I would say this is around mid cap, kind of medium risk pick. And let's bring up its chart. Wow, ChartX is very slow today. So ChartX.pro is the tool very similar to TradingView that you can use to chart stuff on AVAX, on I'm not sure if I don't think they support Phantom. So this is the main one for AVAX right now. And this is Joel's chart. And if you look at it daily, right, see just very consistent uptrend yet again. We already talked about this twice already, but let me just reiterate. So if you look at the top coins in the AVAX ecosystem, right, assuming that you're bullish on the AVAX ecosystem, how can you find the strong performers to be behind, right? So right here, right, we had a period of kind of the first hype dying down from August 30th to September 8th, right? This was a bit of a consolidation pattern, right? This is a bull flag that Joe has formed. It didn't come anywhere close to the previous low levels here, so that's a good sign. But if you look at majority of other coins in the AVAX ecosystem that are supposedly also good, for example, Pangolin, you see this is a whole different story, right? From August 30th to September 8th, it's completely erased, right? This big rally that we've had since the ecosystem hype started. And you can take the same example for many other plays in the AVAX ecosystem, right? Penguin Finance, another one that still hasn't recovered to its peak levels. So this is one way that you can visualize how which dApps and tokens are the leaders in the ecosystem. So two others that are leading, not as much as Joe, but still leading, is YieldYak. Ticker is Yak. So this one has already rallied to the previous all-time high right around 15,000, but still hasn't entered into new price discovery. nonetheless, good. Much better chart than Pangolin at the very least. Much better than Penguin Finance. So this is the leading yield aggregator on AVAX. Another one is Avalanche. Again, this also has rallied to the previous all-time high, but hasn't broken above it yet. So not as strong as Joe either. So my biggest bag right now in the AVAX ecosystem is Joe. And another way you can look at this is to directly compare the ecosystem apps tokens versus the native asset, right? So this would be Joe versus AVAX and Pangolin versus AVAX, Yak versus AVAX, etc. What this will show you, right, and this is conveniently a chart here already, what this shows you is how much the individual projects are leading the ecosystem hype, right? So if you have something that's just holding still against AVAX, let's say Penguin Finance, for example, holding still against AVAX, we can bring up a chart here. Right, actually, it's even down. I think a really bad example here, the thing we don't want to see is something like Pangolin versus AVAX. What is this showing you? It's showing you that even though Pangolin's individual dollar price is going up, it's going up less than the native coin itself, AVAX, is. Which means whenever there's hype in the ecosystem, AVAX clearly will see a growth, right? But by taking on more risk and betting on something like with smaller market cap like Pangolin, you're actually losing out on profit for this ecosystem hype. So that this is a terrible chart that you don't want to see for Pangolin versus AVAX. Something that's much better is something like Yak versus AVAX, right? So this is pretty much holding sideways. What is this telling us? It's telling us that as the AVAX ecosystem grows or shrinks, right, AVAX price will grow or drop. And then the price of Yak also grows with the same magnitude or drops with the same magnitude as the AVAX coin, which means it's at least very relevant in the ecosystem, right? Betting on Yak is pretty much the same as betting on AVAX. Maybe there are larger fluctuations, but you're not losing out on gains like in Pangolin's case. But now we come to Joe versus AVAX, right? This is something of a good chart you want to see of a typical coin that's actually leading the ecosystem, right? So because Joe's price is even rallying against AVAX's price, what is this telling us? It's telling us that even though the AVAX ecosystem is growing with incentives and the hype and AVAX price is going up, Joe's price is going up even faster than that, right? It's doing multiples on top of the AVAX coin. This is something that makes sense to be in because let's just be honest, right? If the AVAX network dies or something terrible happens, none of these coins will survive because they heavily rely on the network. But when you bet on the projects within that ecosystem instead of the native coin, you need to see its performance having larger multiples than the native coin. Otherwise, you're just taking on more risk for no reason, right? Your AVAX goes up 20%, Yak goes up 20%, but Yak usually fluctuates much more. So what's the point, right? So in order for any of these bets to make sense, you really need to see the project coin itself outperforming the native asset, which in this case, this is the only one that I found, is Joe versus AVAX, is in an uptrend. In fact, it has broken a new all-time high, right? Very clearly here, previous all-time high, discounting these wicks, was around 0.05, right? Joe versus AVAX. And you see, we have broken above that. And right now it's showing a retest right here. So this is such a good sign that if you are bullish on the AVAX ecosystem, I would say, okay, holding the AVAX coin itself makes a lot of sense. Across the ecosystem, very little coins make sense to hold because most just perform the same magnitude as AVAX coin itself. However, Joe is one that does make sense to hold because it actually outperforms the native asset. So that's a bit of you know, I don't know how you call this, like ratio analysis maybe to do. And this is why, you know, I've actually bought even more Joel yesterday. Yeah. I'm also bullish on the AVAX ecosystem, but, you know, I'm kind of seeing treating Joel as a leverage position on AVAX coin without an AVAX ecosystem without actually taking a leverage, right? If you can think of it that way. So yeah, that's Joel. And couple other coins that I've been watching, you know, Spell. I don't know if I'll have too much time to cover these, but we covered this yesterday already. So Spell has already been rallying very, very significantly, right? Kind of just nonstop. So anything I would say close to the 0.3 cents range is a buy for me, but it's just it doesn't want to stop. So still need to be very cautious about how you can time the entry. I'm holding this for the long term. So because the narrative for this is very strong. It's a multi-chain, multi-collateral, non-discriminatory MakerDAO and DAI stablecoin alternative, which that itself is a $2.2 billion market cap. This right now is only like 300 million. So something like 7-8x to go. If that narrative actually plays out, which so far it is, right? Spell is taking up so much land grab in other chains and Phantom, AVAX, while DAI is just, and MakerDAO is just like kind of still within its own silo on ETH. So that's Spell. And then also the other coin that I bought a lot of is ICE, Popsicle Finance. Again, this one has rallied a lot already, so I would probably wait till maybe like $4.50 range. If you look at 1 monthly, right, there's a bit of support right here. I don't know if I can draw on this chart, but yeah, so 1 peak, 2 peak, right around $4.50 over the past 2 weeks. So if we get any dips around to this range, I would say that's a very decent opportunity, and I'll probably load up even more. But fundamentally, Popsicle Finance is a Uniswap v3, started as a Uniswap v3 LP aggregator. So Uniswap v3 is a very efficient way to provide liquidity to DEXs, but it's not like v2 where you can just like put your money in on both sides and reap rewards. Instead, in order to get the best rates, you kind of need to know what you're doing and constantly adjust. So Popsicle is kind of automating that process. And they're also multi-chain. So not only that, but they support yield aggregation on AVAX, Phantom, BSC, right? So they're, again, non-discriminatory, unlike, you know, Yearn Finance, which also is only on ETH and might support Phantom. And they are built by the same team as Spell or Abracadabra. So yeah, I'm really behind this multi-chain narrative, seeing so many other chains pop up. So these two projects are top of my radar right now. And also because my fundamental thesis is that, at least in the short term, we have a very big chance that a lot of liquidity flows into other chains and multi-chain, into Phantom, AVAX, you know, Near, Solana, BSC and Polygon are already there, but you get what I mean, right? So by being very anal about staying only on ETH, you're only hurting yourself. So okay, so that's it for everything that I wanted to cover for today. Let's go into Q&As, and I'll just read into the comments and bring up individual questions, and we'll go from there. So let's see. I wouldn't necessarily say Litecoin is such a big bet right now. I mean, if you really like it, sure, it's not going to go anywhere bad, right? It's going to follow Bitcoin, but kind of lag behind. So yeah, I don't have any Litecoin. Ethereum Classic, what do you think about it? Ethereum is good, right? I've been holding Ethereum since forever. Ethereum Classic is not good. It's literally a dead network. It gets 51% attacked. It's not good. King chart Luna, we just did. If you can scroll back, I want to buy DOT, Arweave, FTT, so FTX token, Luna, Cauty. I don't know about Cauty. I haven't been following it for a while, but the rest of those there, DOT, Arweave, FTT, Luna, all good picks, because we are in alt season right now. Will you convert all your pages into poets? I don't know, actually. I need to see really what they reveal in the next day or so. I currently hold 4 pages. Should I convert 2 into poets, keep the other 2 edge pages? I don't know. I don't have any more insider information. But once the conversion comes out, I will for sure cover it. Thoughts on Cauty again? I don't know, to be honest. I can't even tell you what they do. So, Link, yeah, good long-term project. Solana has already rallied too high above its previous all-time high, so that's why I didn't cover it in the layer 1 narrative. It's fundamentally a very strong project, and if you have been holding it for a long time, there's definitely more upside. But just for the sake of that narrative and finding the ones that have good risk to reward, a return to potential loss, right? Because Solana has already rallied and leading for so long, it's not one of my top picks right now, just for new entries. Enjin is bullish. Yes, Enjin is a good project. I wouldn't bet on Matic right now. If you can very clearly look at TVL on Matic has been slowing down. Many of the other chains are picking up. Yeah. And even trading volume on QuickSwap and Sushi on Matic both have been declining dramatically. So Chainlink, Polkadot, Enjin, all good coins. But yeah, regardless, Matic is still a good coin. It's just not as good as the other layer 1 incentive protocols. Not fundamentally speaking, but again, how much potential there is at the current time, right? Which indicators do you use? I use RSI. I use MACD. I use EMA. That's about it. Sometimes I use like VPVR, but that's about it. Why buy alt already? Render pump 5x, AVAX, not buy Luna, not buy Phantom, not buy. Yeah, good for you, man. Good for you. I mean, keep buying coins that don't move and see what happens, dude. Yeah. Find something that has not done anything since beginning of the year while everything else has been outperforming, and you'll see what happens. That's a big misconception, man. Coins don't pump for a reason, right? Obviously, you don't want to chase, right? For instance, Solana, in comparison to AVAX right now, is not a good buy, right? Because you can't limit your downside, right? Looking at the chart here, right? Previous all-time high was 55, current price 150. So your downside is too much for that. Even though Solana is clearly leading and clearly strong and clearly in an uptrend, well, you can't limit your downside. That's not a good buy. That's a bit FOMO-y, right? When there are other options. But you can't just always go and find stuff that has nobody's talking about and like just doesn't move. Then that's against everything that the whole point, which is buying things that go up, buying things that have adoption, that have demand, right? And the demand should show up in the charts. So if you buy something that doesn't move, what the hell are you doing? you're betting against yourself, right? It's fundamentally wrong to do that. That's not actually FOMO. FOMO is something that getting into something at the absolute peak and not seeing where your potential loss could be in case you're wrong. That's FOMO. But buying things that are generally going up is the idea, right? Buying things that have demand, again, is the idea. If something doesn't grow, why would you buy it? That makes no sense. It's all about timing. It's all about limiting your downside. That's the not FOMO part, not buying whatever doesn't move. That's a terrible idea. Yeah. don't confuse yourself. Enjin, yeah, they have a starter. I didn't know that. I think I've heard of Enjin starter though, but haven't looked into whether they're launching yet. Long-term hold for Matic, yeah, pretty good. KSM, Dot, yeah, both good. Just want to take a moment to thank you all and the Picking Out team. Did you make any quantum entry? Did you look into VXV? I didn't look into VXV. Quant, I do have. I just gave those entries. Again, this is terrible advice. Terrible advice. Don't buy a coin already run 5x. Yeah. No, buy a coin that when everything is rallying and the market is so good, but your coin still hasn't moved. What the hell's wrong? Like, show me something that is on sale and fit your narrative, right? Yeah, it's completely wrong way to look at it. Wow, you guys really clearly don't know how to trade. Again, I'm not saying Enjin is bad, right? And yes, Enjin is undervalued, but if you, by your logic, right, you pretty much cannot buy any top coin because they have all rallied significantly. So yeah, like you can say the same for any coin. So that's literally, yeah, but I agree. Yeah. If you are a bit more long term and you are willing to wait, like Enjin is a great bet. But that doesn't mean AVAX won't continue running in this current rally, right? You can't say that for Enjin because Enjin clearly hasn't started a new uptrend yet. So you have much longer to wait. Yeah. Just because, I mean, I'm totally not against what you're saying here. Like, Enjin is a great project, but just because you want to show it and you have it doesn't mean other coins are bad. Like, you don't even have any logic behind your trade and your stop loss, your take profit, and your time frame. So I don't know what you're doing. I haven't seen any Terra NFTs. No. RUNE and synthetics. I'm not so sure about synthetics. Synthetics has just been completely lagging the entire DeFi market. RUNE is decent. Is it okay to keep my coins on an exchange? It really depends. If you are very short term, yeah, but I really recommend getting a hardware wallet. Dogecoin has just been falling. Do you think it's done? I don't think it's done, but it certainly is falling, so I don't hold any right now. If it shows another upside, right, breakout into a new uptrend, then yeah, no problem jumping back into it. But as long as it continues to lag, I will not hold. Celo, I've been hearing more of. Yes. So, yeah. Mystic, can you send a reminder ahead of time? I mean, we all kind of go live around the same time every day, so. I don't know about Dentacoin and Chiliz. Chiliz is good. It's kind of the standard for fan tokens for kind of European football leagues. So yeah, Chiliz has a lot of adoption. What do you think is a buy level for AVAX? Around $55, the previous all-time high. This haircut looks so much better. Thanks, man. Is there a way to set stop losses on Joe or Yak? No, I pretty much never set like automatic stop losses. I do it manually because there's so much fluctuations in the market. You don't want to get shaken out by one of the ugly wicks. How many coins should you hold with 10K for most gains? Diversifying? Not too much. Not too much. I try to limit myself to like 5 coins at once. The ones that I really hold large of, with high conviction. Obviously, right now there's a big layer 1 narrative, so I kind of treat those as one narrative. But the less the merrier, actually, because it saves you time. You have stronger convictions into those. You would have done enough research. Yeah. So over diversification is a fool's game, actually. Do you hold any Bitcoin miner stocks? I don't. What are your thoughts on Pay Network and Pulsechain? Both good. I was very early in Pay Network. I still hold some, I think. in one of my wallets. But yeah, I know Kyle from Pay Network from Master Ventures. He's a good guy. Pulsechain, I also did a big sacrifice. So yeah. Audius, good project. Very innovative. One of the leaders in kind of crypto for music. What's the best advice you can give me? I'm 21. I'm looking up to you. I want to become junior you. Just keep learning, I guess. Don't get wrecked, right? Take risks, but don't get wrecked. Always limit your downside. Schiller's invasion. Yeah, pretty much. Do you enter IDOs whenever I can? Yes. Trick there is to actually get into the IDOs. Which hardware wallet do you recommend? I recommend Trezor, not Ledger. So okay, if you are using it for Solana, Ledger is the way to go. But EVM chains, Trezor is way better. Ledger is super buggy for EVM chains like ETH, AVAX, Phantom, BSC, Polygon. Buy price for Joe is already very high, so probably around $3 is more like it. But I'm still consistently averaging because I've been holding for a while. So yeah. Do you have any Polkadex? I think I do, because I was in their IDO, I think, but it's again one of those like, okay, I might have some in another wallet with paid network. Same kind of scenario. What do you think about Hex long term? So far so good, right? I can't tell you much. There's not much to talk about there. It's supply and demand. And they really limit how much is available on the market. So, are there any parachains on KSM or DAO you're looking to participate in? Calamari was really good, but it's already over. Altair and Kinsuki, those three. Do you remember DuckDAO? Yeah, DuckDAO kind of trash. Yeah. Their project's really fun enough, big. Thoughts on the next big narrative in crypto? I think privacy and DAOs might be two to watch that are still up and coming. Any good books or YouTube videos you can recommend reading, watching? I really like how you draw your charts. This one. Technical Analysis of the Financial Markets by where's the name? By John Murphy. Best book for TA. Best book. How to get into privacy? Oh, you kind of just have to reach out to the project and try to offer what you can. They need people that can provide value, right? Keep up the great work, man. Do you have any opinion on XRP? It is what it is, right? It will rally in a bull market, but I'm not fundamentally. I don't like it fundamentally, but it is what it is, right? It's something you can make money off of. Yes. Bacon, what happened to this coin where you sacrificed a lot of money on? You made a TikTok video on it. Yes, that's Pulsechain. I'm still waiting on it. Hopefully it comes out soon, but still very bullish on it. But you can't really get it right now. What do you think of Sandbox? Good project. Haven't looked at the coin price for a while. So what do you think about Ash, and what price do you expect Poets rise, or at what price do you sell your Poets pages? Initially, before this whole Sotheby's announcement, I was aiming for between 1 ETH and 1.5 ETH. But now there's Sotheby's and the Pranksy bought in at 1 ETH. I'm kind of aiming for like 3 ETH. So haven't sold any yet. I'm not so sure how that will directly correlate with the price of Ash. Obviously, with one page or one poet, you can burn for a certain amount of Ash. So there's a direct conversion there, which will drive speculation for Ash, but I'm not sure what Ash is even priced at right now. When new layer one chains reach levels like AVAX, ALGO, etc., it really depends on what chain. Some are just garbage. I didn't check any Dogecoin news. Konomi Network, yeah, I know this one. They do a lot of marketing. Where would you put 40K right now? Probably most of the layer ones. And Joel and Spell, Ice, all the ones I talked about. That's where my money is at. Our market should be listing very soon. Looking out for that. Do you think a pullback to 37.38 could happen? Could happen, but I don't think it should be. It should stay there. I don't even want to see 37. That would be very, very shaky. Maybe like a day, maximum 2 days if we pull back to 38. But yeah. Are you in crypto full time? Yes, I am. Okay, so that's it. I think that's all the questions for today. Thanks for joining, everybody. I do have to go, but stay tuned for tomorrow's stream as well. We'll try to go live every day right around this time at 12 p.m. UTC. 12 p.m. PST, which is 7 p.m. UTC. For about 1 hour of stream. Same style every day. I'll update kind of my picks, the market, answer questions. This chat. Maybe we'll incorporate some more news, but I don't have any news that I think is too actionable right now. So I don't want to talk about just kind of entertainment news. Like, what's the point? Oh, this guy said this guy said that. These guys are so bearish on Bitcoin. Like what's the point? Anyways, yeah. See you guys tomorrow. Most likely, but if not, most days I'll try to go live around the same time. So bye for now. Also check out the replay on my YouTube. See you guys.